Good Friday morning, May 30th, 2024. Anyway, today, May 30th, marks the 20th anniversary of the transition, or the passing, or the death of a very dear friend of the family, but also a very dear friend of all of us, I can safely say. Phyllis Seckler, or Phyllis Wade Seckler McMurtry. She was married a couple times, and when I met her, she was Phyllis McMurtry. But her magical name and her magical persona was Soror Meral, Meral, and we pronounced it Merel. And I can't let this day go by without sharing something that I periodically share with people, especially Thelemites, especially magicians, who are interested in the magic of Aleister Crowley, specifically the work of the AA and the OTO. So I'm going to share a memory with you before I do anything else in her honor. And if you've heard it before, please humor me, because I don't think it is published anywhere else. Here. Phyllis Seckler, a Soror Meral. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. It starts off like a Raymond Chandler novel. I met her first in the fog-shrouded early morning hours of November 15th, 1975, EV, at a motel in Dublin, California. I traveled all night by bus from Costa Mesa. It had not been a restful journey. All I could think about for every bumpy mile was the initiation I was scheduled to undergo and the curious circumstances that brought me to this moment in my life. I'm going to digress for a second. I didn't know where the hell Dublin was. I didn't know if it was in Central California, Northern California. I didn't even know for sure it was in California. But I bought a bus ticket, like a Greyhound bus ticket, because I couldn't afford anything else, and I didn't have a car. I wasn't working. I sold books. I sold my books to get the bus ticket. I sold my precious tape recorder to get the bus ticket. But anyway, in Santa Ana, California, which is the town just north of Costa Mesa, that's where the bus depot was. And the bus depot, at the time, I think it probably still is right adjacent to or catty corner from the Orange County Jail. Okay. Now, the bus to Dublin left at around midnight or 11 o'clock. It was very late at night on the 14th. And so I would arrive in Dublin in the early morning hours of the 15th. And people who were jailed, men who were had been jailed and had just gotten out, either on bond or whatever, but very rough and shady looking characters, uh, who were, I guess, heading on to San Francisco, and but they were my bus mates. I sat beside them and listened to their chatter, and all, everything short but physically fending them off because they wanted money from me that they swore they would pay me back. And here I am. I barely had money to get on that bus. Okay. So it was like a bus load of, I don't want to characterize them personally as demons, but in my mind, it was a busload of demons. And it was a very unrestful trip, I want you to know. It was to the terror of the threshold. And if the terror of the threshold wasn't enough, that freaking I-5 freeway in the middle of the night and with a full moon. If you've ever drove the I-5 freeway north from the Los Angeles area, you know what the abyss is. You know what the mouth of hell is. But I digress. All I could think about for every bumpy mile was the initiation I was scheduled to undergo and the curious circumstances that brought me to this moment of my life. It had taken nearly 2 years of handwritten letters back and forth, letters demanding the location, date, and hour of my birth, my biography, my education, my aspirations. Finally, a date was set for my initiation, and my instructions were clear, simple, and utterly terrifying. As the bus neared Dublin, I was to tell the driver I wanted to be let off at a particular intersection near a certain motel. Now this is in the dim pre-dawn light, okay? And it was like a gravel road, and so the bus went, okay. As the bus neared Dublin, I was to tell the driver I wanted to be left off at a particular intersection near a certain motel. I was to walk a few blocks to the motel and check in using my own name. If there were no rooms available, I was to wait in the lobby. If there was a room available, I was to go there and wait to be contacted. I had no other information, no address, no phone number. I didn't even know the names of my hosts and initiators, only magical names. Hymenaeus Alpha 777 and Soror Meral. As I looked out of the bus window at the cold moon rising over the abyss that is the San Joaquin Valley, it occurred to me that should I fall victim of foul play, should I vanish off the face of the earth, if my initiators were the insane remnants of some satanic Aleister Crowley cannibal cult, should they choose to rape me, eat me, kill me, or maybe not in that order, so something I was not completely convinced was not part of the program, because I heard so much about Aleister Crowley and the scary stuff, mostly scary stuff, okay? My poor wife wouldn't even have a clue to give to the police. I didn't know it at the time, but Hymenaeus Alpha and Soror Meral were having their own doubts and fears about me. And that the reason for all the cloak and dagger dramatics was the very real concern that I might be a dangerous person. In the months prior to my initial inquiry, note, some very scary things had taken place in California. The homes of several prominent people, elderly former students of Aleister Crowley, had been burgled and their priceless collection of Crowley books and magical articles stolen. These people were Israel Regardie and Mildred Burlingame, all contemporaries of Crowley, all Regardie was a famous person, got their occult libraries stolen. Later on, the same people that did that burglary burgled Carl Germer's house. After he died, tied his widow up, put her in a closet, stole the library. If it hadn't been for a curious local minister doing sort of a wellness check, she would have died. It was scary stuff. It was a scary time. The neon sign in front of the motel beamed a welcoming vacancy. Actually, it blinked. The V was out, so it blinked vacancy, vacancy, vacancy. And shortly after I awakened the poor manager and checked in, I found myself stretched out comfortably on top of a not-so-hard bed. I immediately fell asleep and dreamed the most disturbing dream. A dream of saggy-titted old women with poorly dyed red hair and priapic old Englishmen in goat leggings carving up my raped and murdered body and devouring my limbs with mint sauce. All of a sudden I heard someone say, "Lon." I heard it as a vibration in my ears. I heard a woman's voice distinctly and forcibly calling out my name. "Lon." I woke up and jumped off the bed. "Coming!" I shouted through the door. I tidied up my shirt and shirt a bit and popped a mint in my mouth and opened the door. There was no one there. I stepped out and looked in both directions. No one there. Somewhat shaken, I returned to my room and sat down on the edge of the bed. Things were starting to get uncomfortably magical. I heard that voice as loudly and as clearly as if someone were standing right outside the door. I was hesitant to try to go back to sleep, but I eventually stretched out again. And as soon as my head hit the pillow, the phone rang, irritatingly loud. I picked up before it could wound my ears a second time. "Hello?" I answered, almost as a question. "Lon DuQuette." It was the voice of the woman who wasn't at the door. By now, I wasn't surprised at anything that was happening. "Yes? Have you eaten?" "No," I confessed. She didn't sound like a cannibal. "No," I admitted. "Have you?" About a half hour later, a knock on my door told me that a flesh and blood Soror Meral was at the threshold. When I opened the door, we both heaved a sigh of relief. I, because she was not a saggy-titted old woman with poorly dyed red hair, and she, because I did not appear at the door with a butcher knife and I'm the Antichrist tattooed on my forehead. She took me to her home, a place I can only describe as a magical gingerbread house, surrounded by beautiful gardens. The rooms were full of art and books and comfortable furniture. I was so very relieved. She was wonderful, knowledgeable, and wise. I bombarded her with questions that she answered candidly. Did he really eat babies? Stuff like that. Our conversation naturally turned to the subject of Liber al vel Legis, the Book of the Law. A year or so earlier, I had followed the instructions, or at least I thought I was doing so, laid out in the Class A comment on the text. I destroyed my first copy of the book after first reading. I asked her, why did I have to destroy my copy of the Book of the Law after first reading it? Her answer was this. You've got an obedience streak in you, Lon. Dear, you're going to have to watch that. I had found my teacher. Okay. As with all relationships, there's bumpy rides. But that's my introduction. Phyllis stayed. She eventually became or I became her formal student and probationer and neophyte, and eventually, just frankly, after a while, when both of us had a disagreement over the honesty and the character and the safety of a particular individual, she, I think, uncharacteristically wrote me to meditate till I agreed with her on the subject. And that's just when I said, well, I think that I won't do that. I may end up agreeing with you, but I'm not going to meditate until I agree with you with anybody on anything. But that's it. Phyllis, I miss you very, very much. And I wish you could be here to lend your wisdom to the craziness that's going on in the magical community and the world at the moment. So you're probably better off escaping this. You had World War II. That's enough. Okay. That's it for today. I had other things I was going to do today. I'll save it for Saturday morning cartoons. So until tomorrow. Please avail yourself of the many fine biographies of Phyllis and her collected works and things like that. Dr. Shoemaker has wonderful, probably, in my opinion, the best material on her, because she is a wonderful character, and I wish I could share her with all of you. So until tomorrow, hopefully, continue to be good to yourself and be good to each other. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law. Love under will.